Is your committee still over?
What's that?
Is your committee?
Good morning, everyone. The time is upon us. The first thing for the agenda is please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we do the election of officers, I would like to introduce our new constituents. We welcome you to Tippecanoe County Government. Representing District 1 will be Ilana Stonebecker. We don't know everybody yet, right? No. And from representing District 4 will be Lisa Dolman. Get that wrong? She said she didn't care what I called her. So at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Doug for the election of officers.
All right. So to open the floor to nominations for president of the council.
I nominate Brian Metzger to be president of the council for 2019.
All right. So we have a
Second.
nomination and a second for Brian Metzger. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the floor. All those in favor of Brian Metzger as president, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, President Metzger.
Train has gone through.
Open the floor for nominations for vice president.
I nominate Kevin Underwood for vice president for 2019. Second.
That's a quick second.
Second.
Long pause.
I think technically you don't need a second for nominations, but we always have, so it's good you got one. Do we have any other nominations for vice president? Hearing none, we'll close the floor. All those in favor of Kevin Underwood as vice president, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Kevin Underwood is vice president. I'll now turn the floor back over to President Metzger.
Well, thank you all for your confidence, and let's move on. Auditor's report, Bob.
Okay, I've got the financial report for ending December 31st of 2018, which was a cash balance of $10,222,106.09 as beginning balance, with projected miscellaneous revenue and property tax and circuit breaker deduction. Our total available was $57,565,593.09. We deduct the encumbrances, the 2018 budget, the minimum balance, and add in the unused estimate for the 18 budget. Our beginning net balance was $1,641,827.09. We had additional appropriations, $812,498, with reductions of $170,382, and miscellaneous expenditures of $1,625.68, leave an end-of-the-year uncommitted funds balance of $998,085.41. On the next page, on the revenue, and this has got some changes or some important things have happened since the beginning of December. We had settlement in there, and so I'll go through a few of the accounts that were impacted by that. Property tax, the 0100. You can see we got just about $25 million in property tax, which was 102% of what we had used in our budget time. And we can go up to the levy amount before we are pretty much shut off. So we were under the levy, which was almost $26 million. So we would be able to keep that extra 2.6% into the fund. License excise, the 0130, that's distributed twice a year at settlement time. And you can see we did come up with a really nice number, the 2.2 million over 1.9 million that we had estimated, and you can see if that number kind of continues up, that we should do good for 2019, because we estimated less than $2 million there. A couple little notes of things that we do at settlement time: the 0299, the examination of records reimbursement. Anytime the State Board of Accounts does an audit for any entity in the county, the schools, library, townships, whoever, we pay for that out of the general fund, unappropriated, and then at settlement time, we take that away from that entity and we post that back to county general. So it shows as a revenue here, but it's not a true revenue because we've already paid for something that was not budgeted. On the next page, the only other thing that is similar to that, the 0731, under other financial sources, of $783,000, and that comes from property tax refunds. And again, when there's a property tax refund, we pay that out of county general, and then at settlement time, we take the appropriate amount from each of the entities to reimburse county general. So county general doesn't end up paying it, but we do front it and we get the money back. So if I deduct the refunds and the State Board of Accounts fees from my revenue, my last line there shows that we did receive 104.3% of what we had budgeted, so that part was good. On the next page, when we start the fund balances, the general fund finished the year at $10,224,000, almost $225,000. That is about $20,000 more than we started 2018 with. Cume Bridge and Cume Cap 1135 and 1138, those are ones that have property tax rates, so you'll see that those numbers have, you see nice receipts for December. Major Bridge 1171, that receives, we haven't spent any major bridge money yet, and that's accumulating up, so it's starting to get to a number, but start paying for major bridges, they're not very cheap. 1188 is reassessment fund. And so that is a lower balance of what we had going into the year. And that's a fund that we need to kind of keep an eye on, that we don't want to spend too much out of there to get that one into a low ball sort of a situation. On the next page, 4505 is TIF Capital Projects / Southeast. And this is money, this is TIF money, and we have an interlocal agreement with the City of Lafayette that we split that money equally. This is the City of Lafayette's money. It is our TIF, so we hold the money and they submit claims to us, but that $2.5 million is not money that we can use for highway. That is something that the City of Lafayette would submit claims on. 4632 is the debt service for the fairgrounds, and this is the escrow money that we will hold for the life of the bonds. So we will have that for the final payment come 25 years from now. The next fund that I always mention is the 4710, the health insurance fund, and we are at $6.1 million cash balance at the end of the year. That was an increase during 18 of $2 million to that cash balance. And for the second year in a row, we spent 76.5% of the revenue in claims, so we do have a nice cushion there, but that can turn around on a dime. The last one I think I wanted to mention was 4880, which is the project revolving fund, which again, that is basically money comes from the TIF, and that is our 50% of the share from the Southeast Industrial, and that is used to benefit the TIF district. That's what I have on the funds, and then I have, Michelle, if you could bring up where, all right, because this is one that I don't.
I think the PDF wasn't on.
It's a PDF. I've got one that's not in the packet, so that's, did you take it down? Move down.
I love the spring.
Go to the next page, please. About 4 or 5 pages down. We're past the funds.
Okay.
What number?
Okay, right there, this is a tentative one. Since we are having council early in the year, it's difficult to get all the numbers put together. But you see there, we have our cash balance beginning 2019. And what I'm using this year is 99% of the tax levy. We've received the budget order, which is the tax rates and gives us the tax levy. And I'm going to deduct from that the circuit breakers that the DLGF has estimated. Usually that estimate is high. The encumbrances of $228,478, that could change next month because we're still going through those. Those were just due to us on Friday, so we need to make sure that all those are appropriate and allowed to be encumbered. Then when you deduct the, Michelle, don't go down that far. When you deduct the other things, we have a beginning net balance of $1,876,000, which is a little bit higher than what we had for 2018. And we obviously have not used all that money in the past, but we do have a substantial uncommitted funds balance, and I feel pretty good about the way we budgeted this year, the revenues and the budget, and we did get the expenditures closer to the revenue than what we had last year, so I think that things will look okay there. So next month, we'll have something a little bit firmer, that'll be in your packet, and we also need to present to you the encumbrances, and we don't have those all put together yet, so we will have that next month as well. So that is all I have in my report. If there's any questions?
Any questions for Bob?
Two questions. Bob, on the revenue report, the first line on property tax, you made a statement about we came in at 102%, 102.6%. You then made a statement about the levy. What was that? I missed it.
The state doesn't allow you to collect more than the property tax levy, what the state sets that to be. When we budgeted less because we were estimating what circuit breakers were going to be, so we budgeted $25 million, where the levy is $26 million. And so the state is saying we can collect up to the $25.9 million. So we collected more than what we estimated, but less than the levy.
Okay. And then the second question is, we came in $2 million ahead of our budget on total revenue, on the bottom line of that revenue report. Given where we saw that coming, and a lot of it was just in that property tax line, what's your thought about where we're going to end up 2019 on revenue?
With revenue, I think that we should be pretty good because I think, again, we've probably underestimated property taxes a little bit. We've underestimated the excise a little bit. Now, one thing that helped us this year was we got that extra lit distribution. Right. So that is not a normal thing. But I still think that we probably will increase our cash balance going into 2020. But it depends on how many additional appropriations, you know. Sure. We had a lot of additional appropriations last year for copper and that sort of thing. And if we run into that, you know. Thank you. It's hard, but I think we're doing good. Thank you.
Anything else for Bob? Jennifer, Treasurer's report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm reporting the interest for the month of December. On hand, we had $108,673,545 and earned $269,481 in interest for the month. You can see with just our regular bank accounts, with paying out settlement, as Bob mentioned, we dropped from $140 million down to about $62 million on hand. Overall, looking back at last year, we ended the year with about $85 million. So the big increase in that is the bond proceeds that we are holding. But if you take that out, we still have about $2 to $3 million positive increase in cash from last year. Interest rates increased again at the end of December, so our rate is an average here of partial month at 2.35 and then 2.35 to 2.6, so we'll see January at about 2.55 to 2.6 interest rate. And from what I've been hearing, I think the Fed is happy with where the rates are, even maybe talked about a decrease, but hopefully not. I mean, I just don't know that there will be any more increases, especially not like what we saw last year. I believe that was our 4th increase last year in December. So those are the rates as of now. Next page just shows significant interest earnings increase due to the bank account, increases of the rate there, investments also up, but kind of holding steady on a normal trend. So our total for the general fund interest was $1,097,000. I think I'd estimated $1,030,000 towards the end of the year, so came in at 106% of the interest that I was anticipating after a couple of revisions there. Overall, we were up $870,000 over last year total. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, not so much regarding banks and interest, but just where we were with online tax payments last year. We increased our dollar amount of collections by only $26,000 at $10.5 million total collected online, but we increased our number of transactions by 1,200. So that's really helped significantly in how we've been able to operate the office and reduce staff coming into this year. So just want to mention that.
Yeah. Questions for Jennifer?
You said the interest was up $800,000 for 2018?
$870. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And that's against the $2 million total?
That was general fund, I believe. No, sorry. It was total, yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Wow.
general fund was
That's a big
almost
increase.
400,000.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll ask if there's any public comment on today's agenda items. Seeing none, consent agenda is next. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda? Not? I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alana Stonebreaker and seconded by Roland Winger to approve the consent agenda as submitted. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Beginning of the year.
Turn the page. Additional appropriations, Sheriff's Department. Sheriff. Yeah, well, welcome, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Accident Fund 1101 appropriation as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Accident Report Fund 1101 appropriation for $45,000 for other professional services. Discussion. There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Firearms Fund appropriation for Fund Number 1156 as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Underwood, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Firearms Fund 1156 appropriation for $55,000 for other professional services.
Wait a minute.
Wait,
a minute.
it looks like it's 34.
Oh, it's 34.
34,000.
Well, my script writer was not very good.
Yeah, it is different than that.
34,000, I'm sorry. I did see that adjustment. There was some email discussion.
Bob, are all these appropriations, the amounts of these typical for what we've been doing in years past for each of these funds?
To be honest, we haven't been able to sit down, and she's gone. Right now, she's having surgery, but I assume it is.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And on this particular one, We had advertised at 55,000, and then we had lowered that down to 34,000 because that was what we thought was the cash balance at the end of the year. There was a couple late postings that we got from December 31st. So if you want to appropriate as much as you can here, 36,785 would be allowable. That's what we have in cash there now. And we did advertise 55, so.
Right, that's where I got that, was the original.
Just leave it, or
So we're at 34?
I'd leave it at 4.
That's our motion. So there's a motion on the floor for 34,000. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Animal Control Fund.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the appropriation for the Animal Control Fund, Fund Number 2573, and the amounts presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Underwood, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Animal Control Fund 2573 appropriation for $20,000 for other professional services. Discussion. Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? False Alarm Fund.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the appropriation for the False Alarm Fund 2574 and the amount stated.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Underwood, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the False Alarm Fund 2574 appropriation for $20,000 for other professional services. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Sir.
The revenue for that false alarm, who gets it? I mean, because we dispatched some people out that they didn't have to be there, or what, any explanation on that false alarm? Anybody want to talk about that?
Mr. Auditor.
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, it's from fees from false alarms, obviously. So they're using it for, their regular purpose.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Any other discussion? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Sheriff's Sale Fund.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the appropriation for the Sheriff's Sale Fund, Fund Number 4009, in the amount stated.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Sheriff's Sale Fund 4009 appropriation for $60,000 for other professional services. Any discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Donation Fund.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Sheriff's Donation Fund, Fund Number 4127, in the amounts presented.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Donation Fund 4127 appropriation for $3,000 for other professional services. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Inmate Medical Fund.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the appropriation for the Inmate Medical Fund, Fund Number 4715, in the amounts presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Inmate Medical Fund 4715 appropriation for $80,000 for other professional services. Any discussion?
I got a question.
Sure.
On that 80,000, is there any tracking, what normally, this fund, what's the balance in that fund? 4715.
It should be about 80,000, I would think.
130,000.
So why do we need 80? I mean, do you have a history of this medicine we gotta take care of these people with, or whatever we got? I mean, I don't want to beat up on you, Bob, you're new. So,
we got tons of medical bills.
Yeah.
He was trying to beat me up, though.
Here comes history.
I can tell you, last year, we had an abundance of people going to the hospital, and I don't know what it added up to, but there were some extreme costs, and fortunately, our judges worked with us and got some of these people OR'd, or we'd owe tons more, so, yeah, with as many inmates as we got, there's been a lot of medical bills.
And we're mandated to take care of that, right?
That's correct.
That's correct. Thanks, Chief. Any other discussion?
You may want to just stay here. You know he's gonna He's trying.
We have a motion on the floor. Those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Inmate medical.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the inmate medical copay fund, Fund Number 4719, in the amount stated.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Inmate Medical Fund Copay Fund 4719 appropriation for $17,000 for other professional services. Discussion.
These funds for this medical, my question is, there's no way of dipping into that fund and transferring any of that balance, that revenue, into another fund? Or is specifically set aside for that? It cannot be goosed up and draw some over here? Okay. I'm just learning. Thank you.
You've been doing this too long.
Yeah, well, I'm over here now, so
I get to ask questions.
No, it's a fair thing, with the new sheriff and new administration, you've got a lot of discretionary spending that you can do through these, and we're always looking to optimize the funds that we have oversight on, and that would be our request, that you make sure the fees, if we have any input onto what the fee actually is for a false alarm, I have no idea. But if we can use those things for other things, we'd hope that that's how you'd look at those.
All right.
We'll discuss that as we get into it, Sheriff.
Pardon?
I said we'll discuss that.
All right.
All of those things at some point. Any other discussion, questions? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. All right.
you're still here.
Don't run away.
Most important of all.
Right.
Most important of all.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the 2019 compensation agreement in lieu of statutory fees between Robert Goldsmith and the Tippecanoe County, State of Indiana.
Second.
Before you get into it, I'd just like to mention that the version that was approved yesterday by the commissioners has a slight change to it. You'll see a reference to section 2.8 in chapter 36-2-13. The version that was approved by the commissioners, it should be 2.5. So the references to 2.8 have been changed to 2.5, and that it has to do with 2.5 is the version where everybody agrees. 2.8 is what the county can do without the sheriff consenting to it. So anyway, there's a drafting error.
Where are we at?
In the first whereas, or the second whereas paragraph, it says whereas IC 36-2-13-2.8 in the packet version. In the version that you should be considering today, because the commissioners approved it, it says 2.5 instead of 2.8.
Oh, okay. So the statute, the code numbers.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
Amongst other things.
Any other discussion?
And the amount's what we budgeted for elected official. Thanks, Bob.
We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Welcome, Sheriff.
Thanks. Supposed to you to come up there. I read this right.
His hair will be great like mine.
Good morning. Smokey, how are you? Great.
Mr. President, I would move that we, the LEPC Fund 1152 appropriation for TEMA, as stated.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Basham and seconded by Councilman Underwood to approve the LEPC Fund 1152 appropriation for $13,540 per request. Any discussion?
I have a question. It says that the spending plan was going to be approved at the LEPC on January 3rd, so I'm assuming that it was approved at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of this whole thing for the LAPC, it's the Local Emergency Planning Committee. This is funded through companies and individuals who have extremely hazardous material. They have to pay a fee to the state, and that fee is, part of that fee is returned to us. It's not really TINA's money, there's a committee.
Any other questions? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Hazmat.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Hazmat Fund 2546 appropriation for a total sum of $13,814. Other professional services.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Basham and seconded by Councilman Underwood to approve the Hazmat Fund 2546 appropriation for $13,814 for other professional services. Discussion. Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Hazardous Warning Fund 4940 for a total sum of $97,336 for M&E safety.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Basham and seconded by Councilman Underwood to approve the Hazard Warning Fund 4940 appropriation for $97,336 for M&E safety. Any discussion?
Just M&E, I've never seen that before. It must be maintenance and electrical. I have never seen that. Oh, maintenance and equipment, okay. And that's largely for the outdoor warning sirens.
Okay. Lost my place. Any other discussion? There's a motion on the...
Just a comment, shouldn't that be it's $97,000, that's a comma? Is that a typo?
97,336.
Is that supposed to be a comma, not a period?
Appropriation request.
Yeah. I know that.
I can't see. He manages to the thousand.
It is $97, yeah.
Much of it?
No, that should be a comma. Thank you, Lisa. Lost my place. Any other discussion or questions? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Emergency Deployment Fund.
Mr. President, I move that we pass the Emergency Deployment Fund 8726 for three entities totaling $24,134.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Basham and seconded by Councilman Underwood to approve the Emergency Deployment Fund 8726 appropriation for $24,134 per request. Any discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Community Corrections. Jason.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Community Corrections TANF Fund 8226 fiscal year 18 grant appropriation in the amount stated.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilman Basham to approve the TANF Fund 8226 grant appropriation for $5,907 for other professional services. Any discussion?
It's TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. It's a grant that we received through the state. We received some additional funding at the end of the last fiscal year for some services that qualified, so they provided that additional funding for us. So this zeroes out our balance on that account.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the 2019 salary statement for community corrections in the amounts and the different positions as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilman Basham to approve the salary statement for up to $18 for part-time clerical, up to $14.50 for part-time correctional officer, up to $12 for part-time work crew, and up to $18 for part-time maintenance position. Any discussion?
These amounts were considered when we built the budget.
Yes, we just inadvertently adjusted off the last salary statement, so this is just catching up.
Thank you.
And the new position was included in that as well?
That's the part-time
That's the
maintenance.
that's the part-time maintenance, but yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the WIC NSA Fund 8880 fiscal year 18 appropriation for $1,386 for utilities.
Second.
Alicia reached out to me that she was not going to be able to be with us this morning. She had a conflict, but they were unable to make an make a transfer at the end of the year, and so they're taking this out of their donation fund is what they're doing in order to pay the utilities.
Will that be paid back? I mean, it's out of their donation fund.
Well, they're paying the commissioners for the utility costs from the end of the year.
Whatever.
Okay, was moved by
the county.
There's a motion by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the WIC NSA Fund 8880 fiscal year 18 appropriation for $1,386 for utilities. Is there any other discussion? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Recorder.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2019 salary statement for the recorder as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Vernon and seconded by Councilman Basham to approve the salary statement for up to $16 per hour for part-time clerical. Is there any discussion?
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Currently, we had a retirement in our office. We had 5 full-time employees. We have 4 full-time employees. And what I'd like to do is try to see if we can handle the 4 full-time employees as is without filling the position as of yet. If we do decide that we do need that extra, what I'm wanting to do is possibly have a part-time come in to help during the lunch hours. And if I do decide to appropriate and fund the part-time line, what I'd like to do is in turn eliminate one of the full-time positions. But I'm not willing to make any decisions right now. I'm just wanting to put the salary statement on record.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I just would like to commend Shannon for doing this. I mean, this is, I think, what all departments need to do. When we have someone that leaves, we really need to evaluate, do we need this position as a full-time position? Can we use part-time? What do we need to do versus filling that position just because we've had it? So thank you for doing that and being an example.
Any other comments, questions for Shannon?
So the treasurer did this, the recorder's doing this. Bob, you're next.
Okay.
That seemed real positive.
We have that on record.
Very enthusiastic, Bob.
Yes.
Any other discussion or proposals? So there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Health Department, Craig.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Local Health Maintenance Fund 1168 fiscal year 19 grant appropriation as presented.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Underwood, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Local Health Trust Fund 1206 fiscal year 19 grant appropriation as requested.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
wait a second.
Did I turn the wrong page?
1168.
They're out of
Go back up.
First one.
They're out of order, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah. 1168 fiscal year 19 for $72,672.
What's the local health?
Any discussion?
What is that again?
Just briefly for the new council members, this is a continuation for the local health maintenance fund that's started in approximately 1987, so it's an annual fund that comes every year.
Okay, it's a grant.
Any questions for Craig? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Now, the local health trust.
Now, Mr. President, I move that we approve the Local Health Trust Fund 1206 fiscal year 19 grant appropriation in the amount stated.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Local Health Trust Fund 1206 fiscal year 19 grant appropriation for $65,428 per request. Discussion, comments?
This, once again, is an annual thing. This was formerly the Tobacco Settlement Fund. It's rolled into this trust account 2006-2007, so it's just a continuation. And hopefully 2020, with our population growth, it's going to go up. Both of those funds are going to go up, thank goodness.
Any questions for Craig? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Donation fund.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the donation fund 4118 appropriation for a whopping $157.
Second.
The motion by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the donation fund 4118 appropriation for $157 for other professional services. Discussion, questions?
People really like us, $157 worth.
Apparently. There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Syringe Service THFGI Fund 9171 grant appropriation as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Syringe Services THFGI Fund 9171 grant appropriation for $10,000 for medical supplies.
This is actually really good news. This is for equipment for a new location at the Lafayette Transferable Housing. So we're real excited to get a permanent location that everyone seems to be happy with. So that's what this is for.
Is this part of the needle exchange?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and it's being moved to a permanent location. It's where Lafayette Transitional Housing is going to be there on between Union and Salem. Is at 13th, I believe.
So this is an additional location, or?
It's going to be our permanent location.
It's a new permanent location.
I don't want to belabor this, but your last report on the needle exchange, on the hepatitis C and all that, we got an update on that, or we?
It's projected to be down this year, the hepatitis C, and so we were pretty excited about that.
Any other questions? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the STD Prevention Fund, Grant Fund 8463, fiscal year 18 grant appropriation as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Underwood, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the STD Prevention Fund 8463 fiscal year 18 grant appropriation for $111,092 per request. Any discussion?
This is yet another continuation, actually, if we did get extra funds this year, but it is a continuation of a grant from last year.
There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. HIV.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the HIV Prevention Grant Fund 8482 fiscal year 18 grant appropriation as presented.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the HIV Prevention Fund 8482 fiscal year 18 grant appropriation for $18,000 per request. Any discussion?
I think I'm on repeat here. This is a continuation again, so it's nothing new.
Okay.
Just continue to
Motion
do
on
what
the
we're doing.
floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Salary statement.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Health Department 2019 salary statement for the positions and the amounts stated.
I think the form you have says 18, but it is 19, obviously.
It's 16.
Yeah. Calendar year 19 should be, yes.
Yeah, those numbers are right, it's just usually that's one.
That's it. Right. We're talking dollars.
Motion by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the salary statement for up to $12 for part-time grant on the grant public relations and up to $16 part-time for disease prevention specialist. Any discussion?
And these are the two positions you guys just approved, the two friends, so.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Craig. Commissioners, President Byers.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Construction Fairgrounds 18 Bond Fund 4818 appropriation in the amount stated.
Motion by Councilman Underwood and seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the construction for the Fairgrounds Bond Fund 4818 appropriation for $8,336,472 per request. Discussion?
I handed out some papers earlier to you, sent over 3 larger papers and whatever, so we're all kind of on the same page and roundabout way. Sorry if some of them may have some scratches on it, whatever. If you look at the first page, where we go down to phase 1 contracts, you'll see that 3.6 million plus, that's what the estimate was for phase 1. Underneath what all the bids came through. So it shows we're plus 600-some thousand right now in phase 1. If you go to the next one, you'll see what phase 2, the total estimates are estimating on that one, 10.4. And then you'll see phase 3, estimate 3.8. So that's what those two pages kind of look at. If you go to the last page, if you look under total projected cost, at $20,609,000, should be $20,400,000 for what we put in, everything else. If you look clear off to the far right, that's what the balance left is to finish the project and things like that. So we can give you this every month on the running totals exactly. I mean, we're getting the same report every month on what it's doing. So now we have a total that's coming through so we can all look at it together. The appropriation we are is all bond money to be able to itemize, to be able to spend throughout this year on the projects as we come through on things like that. We are getting a couple hurdles out there that are hitting us, what we're looking at. One is, yes, we have a big water tower that's sitting there, but the water pressure to run the sprinkler system, if we go with a wet system, we got enough pressure. But that means we got to heat buildings all the time. We go to a dry system, we have to add pressure. So we're bound, and then you don't have to heat the buildings all the time. So we're looking at going to dry pressure, it's only like $50,000 more, but we think we're going to easily save that in utility costs in the long run, those part of the things. One of the other hurdles we're getting into is that the soil is very soft out there. So normally should be setting a footer, basically 2 feet, 30 inches, somewhere like that, I want to say. Some of this, we got to go down 6 feet to get a solid base and things like that. So Tecton's doing a great job working and twisting things, making sure it's in our best favor. So things like that on the project is all working both sides. We felt CHA was overbuilding some stuff, and so we were talking back and forth on that, and we were able to get some, like the floor, for example, inside the entire facility at 105,000 square feet. They thought we needed 8 inches plus rebar floor. We don't need 8 inches rebar floor. We need basically 6 inches wire mesh. It will hold, it'll do, that's what beef barn is, and it's got how many thousands of pounds sitting on everything else. So we're scaling them down and say, okay, come on guys, let's be realistic here. So those are some of the things we're working on, being creative in what we're doing, what we're really looking at poured walls. As I say, you guys will let it off that, contractors aren't that hungry. Poured walls aren't cheap anymore. So we're looking at block. Block can be the cheapest on it, still be the support, give us the strength. So those are some of the things we're happy on. So that's, keep it all updated. The shale of the horse barn is all up. So it's all completely up there. The digging of the stormwater system is going. We have a big aquifer separator sitting out there, the largest one in the county, to catch all 40 acres to clean the water as such. So it's thankfully the wide property we now own, but now they're tearing tile or pavement right in front of the home ec building, which is probably our #1 using building. Now people can park there at the Y and still use the building, so we can still keep our rental and stuff like that going on and things as such. So Andy Klein's doing a wonderful job out there. He really, really is on bringing questions to us. Any questions from any of you?
Dave, can you walk through these a little slower?
Okay.
Just, if we're going to have this format, just going forward, just the first page.
First page, if you look where it says Phase 1.
Phase 1 contracts, I heard.
Page 5, whatever, is basically what it says for page 5 on the bottom, whatever. Basically, up above is the project's kind of separated up a little bit, if you want to look at that part. But if you go right where it says Phase 1 contracts.
Right.
The estimate was 3.6 to do Phase 1. The bids, those are the numbers underneath of what the bids were, which means we came out 600 and some thousand plus on our side.
So if we stop right there, that's all the contracts that are going to be needed for 2019?
No, that's the phase, that's what we were doing through 18, plus part of 19.
Okay, but definitely those contracts are against that 3.6 million.
Correct.
There's not going to be another contract that would have been part of that original 3.6 estimate?
No.
Okay.
No.
So if those come in as bid, we'll be 600 to the good.
Now, as I just explained, we're going to have a couple of change orders.
Sure.
We're finding where we're running into a water line, so we're going to have to remove a water line and some other things. So there will be, but that's in the contingency too. Tecton puts a good chunk over here on the contingency to cover some of these change orders.
Right. Okay. And that's no contingency on that 3.6.
No.
That doesn't count the 10 or whatever, 15 that they put in there.
Right.
Okay.
And then if you go to what's considered page 6 on the bottom, that says Phase 2 contracts, that's the bulk for this year. Because after this, what we're looking at doing is putting the building itself up for bid here in February. So we can go ahead and get the entire building bidded, as in the steel frame / hard structure is what you can classify it. So we're looking at putting that up for bid here in February, so they can pre-make it. So come August, the building's made, we're ready to start on that part of it. So then we're also looking at come June, early July of bidding the whole project of Phase 2. So this is where the 8 million plus or whatever we're coming in for our appropriation. That's our estimates for getting most of the work done for this year.
So this is just telling us that we're budgeted to spend the 10.397, the 3.8, and the 429 in the future.
Right.
But we don't have those bids yet, obviously.
Right. That's what
So
that,
Phase 2 is in 2020?
yeah, that's this year.
Starts this year.
Starts this year.
Phase 1 will finish up, well, right now it's a muddy mess out there, it really is. We were hoping Phase 1 would be done by March/April, but because of the mud we're having, it's pushing it back a little bit, but they'll still have it done by fair time. That's still the main push there. So Phase 1 should be done by July 1st, theoretically. Phase 2 will start basically as soon as the fair's done this year, so let's say August 1st is what that part is.
So phase 2 is supposed to be completed by August 1st.
Started.
Yes. It's not a calendar year thing, it's more of a self-imposed fiscal year around fair time.
So phase 2 will go from, let's say, August of this year, all the way until July of 20.
It all goes on the fair because we need.
Call it the government calendar, not the standard calendar. It's the easiest way to say it.
And then the beginning of the stuff.
So yeah, but like I said, we're gonna get a monthly report like this, and if you guys want a monthly report or whatever, I need the exact same thing. I'm just gonna, sorry there's some scribbles on and things like that, because we were talking with the contractor the other day on some things. But any other questions for all?
So then what's the last page in the scribbles?
The last page is, if you look at really the total project cost, it comes down to $20,609,000. Now that's adding what we've added from EDIT to come out there, because we have the 18.9 of the bond. We put a $500,000 in this year, we had $1 million last year, so that comes up to, a little more than what that number is, so that'd be, should be $20,400,000. And Stacy's gonna make that change on the next one, that's what the total cost of the project should be. Any questions?
So I have a request.
Okay.
And maybe I've missed this, but, because I haven't been on it lately, but I've been looking for the plans online to see what the whole thing is gonna look like, and I know I can get them as a county councilor, but as a public, do we have those plans somewhere online where the average citizen can see what the plans look like?
Yeah, we can put them on.
Okay.
I mean, and we'll even, and you touch on something right there, if we just kind of start glancing at who is maybe hiring a new person for PR / the transparency as you're talking as taking care of Twitter, taking care of all these other things, so we're at least looking at something like that. As someone said, we probably do our job too good, but the basic person doesn't see it. And we really think we need to be out there and start showing what's going on. I was even told by somebody, all these contracts we sign, all these things you sign, are they online where people can really see them? Most of them aren't. And I think these are things that we need to start looking at as a county, since that is the technology way nowadays.
And I think some of the stuff that you're doing at the fairgrounds is really exciting, but people don't know that we're doing it.
Right.
So let's share that.
Let's go to the Rotaries today, and I'll talk to you all.
I'd reiterate that if we need the contracts out there, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, go ahead.
On the phase 2, I was interested in looking at the building not being built to the east first, but to the west first on the wing, in case we decided we weren't going to proceed with phase 3 once we saw where things are. Now, things look really healthy, so that was back at budget time. Dave, as a reminder, if we build phase 2 as it was originally planned, we're going to have the main building in the middle, we'll have the wing on the east. If we decided not to do phase 3, we're going to have a hole then between the main building and the current swine barn.
Correct.
So the plan was, assuming that we were going to do phase 3, and it doesn't appear there'd be a reason that we wouldn't, was consideration given to putting that wing on the other side? Is it possible to put that wing on the other side so that if we didn't do phase 3 or didn't do it immediately?
Right now, I'll say no. That hasn't been part of the thought process, because right now, we're still under the thought process. We're going to continue.
And what is it again that drives doing it on the east side first and not the west side?
Because that way you still have the Coliseum up to get through another fair.
Okay, so...
Because even starting in phase 2, time the east wing, Coliseum, north wing are built, they still will not be functional yet to go through a fair. So it means we'll still have to have the old Coliseum to get through at least another fair.
So under that plan, this coming August, after the fair, the Coliseum will stand while the main building and the east wing, if you call it that, are built.
Correct.
Coliseum stands and is then there for the fair of 2020.
Correct.
And then, following that fair, the Coliseum comes down.
Correct. Coliseum
west
north
is
and south building will come down, and if all of a sudden we're done building, we're just gonna have this big gap.
Is there anything happening in the construction world that doesn't appear that way, or in the finance world that's making us nervous about Phase 3 money and servicing the bond?
To be honest with you, for me, and on that part of it is, contractors aren't hungry. They're not hungry.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the only thing I think we have to sit and really worry about. You know, the very big plus side is, every one of our bidders are local contractors, and they want to be part of this project. We're hearing from them, they want, when I'm sitting there looking at Fairfield, and I know how much they've been involved with the 4-H program, and I'm looking at the owners and the workers and stuff like that, but I'm talking to Houston Electric, their 4-H people, so that's our plus side is, they want to be part of this project. But, there's a lot of projects going on out there. So that's the only, I mean, we came in great on Phase 1, let's hope we come great in Phase 2. We don't know how much of this tariff stuff's going on the price of steel. You know, could this building come in and just all of a sudden kick this way out underneath our feet? That's the ifs that are happening out here. You know, if this was done before this tariff war would happen, I'd have no reservations on it, to be honest with you, Ron, because we don't really know. I mean, the building that came in for the horse barn came in under budget, you know. Can we get just lucky? I hope so. I mean, that's the thing about it. But like I say, we're hammering on the other side of it is Tecton is doing a heck of a job talking to contractors, working with CHA. CHA's building it correctly, but we're like, you're overbuilding it. So contractors say, you know, and they've been very good. We've been working on certain things, on the initial air conditioning units that they were building and putting up and everything else for the optimum day and the perfect number count, blah, blah, blah. It's 490-some ton of HVAC they're thinking we're gonna need. All right. Michael Whitman and his company has built schools, has done things, and I'm like, you don't need that much, you don't need that much. We're cut down to almost 340-ton units. Well, basically, it's, forgive me what it was, I think it was like $3,500 per ton. So right there is $300-some thousand that Tecton's worked with us. Now we're designing it, we're putting it together and say, okay, we screwed up, maybe we got to add a unit. We're going to have the space there, so in case we had to add a unit, it could be done. But right now, we're saying, let's go this direction. You know, we looked at radiant heat. We're like, yeah, okay. We looked at, you know, certain dividers. Well, right now, we're looking at the west wing saying, no, we're not going to split that one up right now. Let's save that couple $100,000 and put those pull-in doors, wherever we have, like back there. So let's go that direction. So, I mean, we're not skipping it. Yeah, we'd love to have all this, but it's functional with this, 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 and this.
Yep.
That's what we're looking at. So I think that's there's always questions, I'll be honest with you, Ron. I mean,
yeah, sure.
The steel is the one I want to know. You know, once we get the bid for this building, we're going to pretty much know we're free sale.
It's not like we would hopefully not have to say never on Phase 3. In a worst case, hopefully it would just be delayed a year or two if we still see that piece is viable, and it seems like it would be. But we know you don't have any other big need that's arisen in the last couple, 3 months.
Big, no, but we're trying to be smart on what we're doing. I mean, Tom and I know what we got the white property. You know, we just signed with Tecton and our architectural firm on slowly moving that project, which we budgeted $500,000 this year to slowly work on that project. We got to find another courtroom over in the courthouse, which we've been talking to Tony back and forth on that issue. You got Jason sitting there saying, I need room, because he's max. I don't know if Bob's screaming yet, I need room, he's max or whatever. But what I'm saying is we know there's things, but how soon are they going to hit us? You know, if you take Garitas, he says, we need to do the jail expansion now. Well, because the bond or the thing's going to run out, let's let the building corp or whatever else continue, blah, blah, blah. Well, is that the right way or the wrong way? have we really looked at the public safety tax? Or if we need more room and things like that. Bob's been putting some things together, and it's probably something, Brian, as you talk about as councilman, we need probably three of you sit down, and not the budget buddies or whatever we're changing our name to or stuff like that, but really take a strong look at this public, what they plan, not just say we're going to do it, what they plan, is it something, or can we not do it? We don't need it. You're doing your long-range sustainability report, how soon do we need to catch, the grid's showing us we're behind on salaries. What the last thing is came up. How soon do we want to hit that? Is that the goal of the council? We need to hit that. Or, you know what, we give great benefits. We may not have to pay as good as we have to pay. Because we have great benefits as a county. So,
breaking it in chunks, we got Eat It. I'd like, obviously, that direction that you just described would be good for Eat It first, and then that could flow into the public safety, that then could flow into the general, but
we need to put a plan together on that part.
I think long-term, we have to look at all of the options and weigh all sides of it, so.
But it is true that the plan, that one of our options, the Eat It, is going to be filled up for the time being with the fairgrounds, right? We have to kind of, that's why plan.
We need to sit down with Paula here and see, because we might have a little bit left over from the courthouse project that might be able to help here. We might have some other things that left over from these projects, and we haven't really sat down with Paula here at the end of the year, beginning of the year.
But we budgeted for the courthouse.
Right, we budgeted for it, but there might be some left. We may have budgeted X and it only cost us Y, so we might have a little bit sitting there that could still be used accordingly.
Right.
Commissioner Byers' comment about the local contractors, that is true. And a lot of these contractors, they've been involved in 4-H for decades, so they got our back.
They want this project.
They want this project to go, and they're going to work with us.
And Andy's already getting calls.
I commend you.
Yeah, Andy and Kathy are getting calls already, people ready to rent the facility. I'm like, I'm out, we don't.
It's a little muddy.
Right,
It's a little muddy at the moment, yeah.
So, they're getting calls already. People are excited about it or whatever, but
You're right about
well, we have to do it right, we have to do it fiscally right. Correct.
And then on a side note, I think that this spills over, and this is a great time to start talking about our 2020 budget, because how many added personnel are we going to need next year? And so every department head really needs to be looking and evaluating, their personnel and their personnel needs for 2020, so that if there is a need, that we can get these positions approved by the commissioners, so that we can come to the budget and have a realistic idea of what our personnel costs are going to be for 2020. So I think that, everyone needs to now start formulating, their plan and evaluating. This is a new year. Let's really look at what we have, what are our needs, and move forward.
And that's something I'm sure each of you as council members, when you talk to your department heads and stuff like that, let's make a two-way team here, and they say, hey, what are you thinking? Or, while you're talking to them, while we're talking to them. We might scare them, you guys don't, who knows? It'll be the other direction away, so.
Okay,
All right, any other questions for Commissioner Byers? We have a motion on the floor for construction bond that you see on the screen, $8,336,472. There's no more discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
I'm going to do FYI while I'm up to.
Sure.
If any of you have any legislative issues that you feel really need to be looking at, please get a hold of Tom and do it quick. He is a great advocate of working with the legislators down there, so if you have any of that stuff. Small Business of the Year is on the 16th at the Oven Place, the road.
The Oven Place?
What was this?
Midtown Oven, Tucker Road. So that's the Small Business of the Year, the 16th at like 5 o'clock. And then February 13th, the State of the City and County Address is happening out at the trails, if you want to listen to the same speech again, whatever. But, thank you all.
All right, thank you, Dan. Other committee reports. What's happening in Romney, John?
Where's your golden...
I appreciate the award.
Yeah.
that I received, a plunger with a red ribbon on it. It sits in the office at Purdue.
It's a golden. So, I see lots of flags along, little construction flags. What's going on?
Well, once again, we have 145 homes. We have 110 tanks to put in the ground. In my last report, we've got about 90-some tanks in the ground. So we want to go online sometime in March. So most everybody in Romney's on board about that. They see that it's going to really be beneficial to the community. I'll give you a better report next month.
Okay. Is there any unfinished business to come before the council? Hearing none. Council appointments and assignments. I've talked with Lisa and Alana about the departments moving into the positions that they are moving into. So in terms of the departments, Lisa will continue where Vicki Birch was with courts and Roland, and Alana will be with the youth services and safety committees, or departments rather. The committees, we're still working on that. I've got a few more to fill. I need to talk to a few people, but a couple of things I need to maybe ask Michelle about this list, but we'll have that done by the end of the week. If there's anybody that wants to shuffle departments, let me know. I mean, change blocks. I can't see changing the little buckets, as somebody referred to them too, of the way the departments are grouped, but if there's any of the past council members that would like different departments, we can negotiate that with someone else, but any questions about that?
The APC,
any public comment for council today?
On this, really not public comment, but just jump
right
back
in.
to your committees. One committee that we don't have on there is our infamous little Budget Buddies committee, and that really wasn't an official committee. But Dave was on there, and if you want to consider that the same way, because we'd like to meet with that one before too terrible long.
I kind of looked at that one as the president, vice president, and past president. That seemed to be what was there, with Dave and John at me.
Okay. And then, but then what does that put us as the third person?
Yeah, because we lost the past president.
Okay, the vice president. Okay.
Vice president, yeah, so that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments?
it's going to be noted that you and I'll flip. I'll go to TEMA.
Oh, yes.
Your MPO.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Smokey. John will go back to
Come
TEMA.
back to TEMA.
All right, if there's nothing else, you have a question on your face? No.
I usually do.
Well, there's one more motion to make.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. You're welcome. Sure. We are adjourned.
One thing, and this is after the meeting here, I've got the budget hearing minutes in there. Those were approved a couple months ago, we just didn't get them signed.
Okay.
Like here. Okay.
All right.